Power BI consistently ranks as one of the most in-demand, highest-paying skills for any analyst in today's job market. I spent a long time learning Power BI the slow way, watching tutorials, taking courses that I never finished, and not really building much. But here's what I know now after working as a Power BI developer and helping dozens of people break into data. The way most people learn this tool wastes you months. If I started over today, I'd be job ready in 4 weeks. And this is exactly what I do. First, let's talk about just getting comfortable with the tool itself. So if we take a look here, we have a few different views, but if we're talking about just getting job ready with Power BI, the three that you need to know are these ones. There's the report view. This is where you'll build visuals. There's the table view where you can take a look at your data. So you can see we have a few different tables: customers, products, and sales. Don't worry, this might look a little jacked up, and that's because we're gonna clean this data as we kind of walk through some of the things in Power BI that are good to know. The third is the model view, and this is where you'll establish relationships between your models. Now again, right now our tables are a little bit messy, so no connections are being formed. Normally Power BI will create connections automatically if it detects join keys between the tables. But a lot of the times you have to do a little bit of effort to create that join. But I want to show you just how easy it is to at least get started with making some visuals. Let's just say we wanted to see the unit price for every type of category product. Well, instead of like selecting a visual and kind of messing around there, we could just select these little check boxes here and bring these directly into our field pane. So if I click these, it's going to create a visual that seems the most intuitive for those columns. And so you can see all I did was just check the box for category and unit price, and it gave me a bar chart automatically. So if we're just talking about getting started with the tool, it's literally that simple. And so for your first couple of days, this is where I would focus, just getting comfortable with the tool, exploring it, and getting to know it. But if we're talking about our first week in general, I'd say you want to start getting comfortable with Power Query. And this is the part that a lot of people tend to brush over. And I think the reason for that is because Power Query looks intimidating, but it's just simple reversible steps that never actually touch your source data. If you skip Power Query and brush over the more back-end side of Power BI, you'll start hitting bottlenecks that leave you with a weaker report or unable to create certain solutions. Power Query is just essential for shaping our data in the way that we need it. And we could access Power Query by clicking this little table icon right here. When we do, it pulls up a new window for us. And this is how it looks once you're in Power Query. So we have our tables, again, customers, products, and sales. And let's explore what Power Query can do by doing a little bit of cleanup. If you're with a big company and you have a data engineering team, your data probably for the most part will look pretty good. But if you don't have those resources and you have to clean it up a little bit yourself, this is where Power Query becomes especially important for table cleanup. By the way, I partnered with DataCamp to help you get started with Power BI today. And if you're serious about mastering that tool, I really recommend DataCamp's Power BI Fundamentals track. It's ideal for beginners and walks you through the entire process from connecting and cleaning your data to building interactive dashboards, much like we're doing today, using real data sets and exercises so you can practice directly in your browser. And if you're ready to take things further, the Data Analyst and Power BI track has advanced topics such as data modeling and business case studies, which are really super great. But wait, there's more. DataCamp has also partnered directly with Microsoft, so when you complete the track, you'll receive 50% off the official PL300 Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst Certification exam. So you're getting the best of both worlds here: practical experience and a chance to earn an industry-recognized certification for a discounted price. You'll find links to both these tracks pinned in the comments below. Check them out, they're awesome, and let's continue with the video. I mentioned how Power Query is essentially applied steps that we are creating, and that's right here in the applied steps section. And if you ever make a mistake, you can just click the X and it'll remove that step. So let's just say that I accidentally remove this column here. Whoops, oh, column 4 is gone. What do I do? Well, you can just click this X and you can pull away that step. Let's do some cleanup on this table. So the first thing is that we don't need these first 2 rows. So what we could do is click remove rows, remove top rows. It's gonna ask me the number of rows I wanna delete, and that's gonna be 2. So now those rows are removed, but I still don't have proper headers. It's still just a list of column numbers. But you can see that this first row here, those look like column headers. And conveniently enough, there is a function, use first row as headers. I'm gonna click that and boom, my first row are promoted to header values. Now, what about if you have wrong data types here? So if we look at sales amount, we can see that currently it's being treated as a decimal number, but I want it to be a dollar value. And for Power BI, that's the fixed decimal number. And it's telling me that the selected column already has an existing type conversion. We can replace the current step or add a new step. In this case, we're just gonna add a new step to keep it simple. We're gonna do the same thing to unit price here. You can see that order date is being treated as a date data type. That's exactly what we want. But the last thing I'd say is that our notes column kind of looks like a junk column. There's nothing in here, so we don't really need it. So to keep our model tight, we're just gonna go ahead and remove this column with this button over here. And with that, let's take a look at our customers table. And I can see right away that there is a little bit of cleanup that is needed here. We can see that our country column has a lot of weird spacing, proper casing and all that, but we can take care of that pretty simply. So first we'll go over to our transform tab here. And if we just click on format and trim, it's gonna remove any weird spacing before or after the value. The other thing you'll see is that the naming conventions are a little different. This is always a pain in the neck, especially when you're working with data that is entered by users. So like USA, for example, it's capitalized here, but here it's lowercase. So one way that we can handle that is we can go to replace values and value to find USA, replace with USA. When we do that, it'll find any instance of a lowercase USA and replace it with uppercase. Now we won't do that for every single example here. That's something you would want to do if this was like your data for your company. We're also going to clean up this region column a little bit. So we'll click on format and trim. So we could at least take care of the spacing issue there. And then for this one too, there are some countries that start off with a lowercase. So again, we're going to go to format and we're going to capitalize each word. When we do that, you can see that the lowercase Asia becomes a proper case. This table's looking pretty good. Let's look at products real quick. And we'll do some of the same things we did in the other tables. Let's make unit price fixed decimal number. We'll add a new step for this one too. We'll go ahead and trim this column to remove the white space. And same thing, we'll capitalize each word. Looking better already. Also, one thing I'll mention is you won't always see like these bars and these stats at the top of the columns here, but you could turn those on by going to view. And it's some of these here. So column quality is going to give you this valid error empty percentage. Column distribution is what gives you this distribution of the different column bars here. And then column profiling. So if you turn column profiling in, it gives you some column statistics. So we're actually going to turn that off right now. And if we look at our column quality, you can see that we have some empty values. So what I'm going to do is remove empty. And one way that we can remove empty columns is we can click this drop down and just click remove empty. You can see that after we've done that, the empty distribution goes to 0%. And I actually cleaned it up for all of our columns. So that's a little bit of how Power Query works. Again, you can get pretty crazy with Power Query. There's a lot to explore there, but those basics are going to help you clean up your data quite a bit when you need to. Now let's talk about the part that can trip you up even if your data is clean. And we're going to talk about data modeling and DAX basics. Okay, so DAX. Let's talk about when you need to use DAX and why. So Power Query preps and cleans your data before it arrives, but DAX does the math after it arrives. And it recalculates everything every single time someone clicks on a filter. It's like prepping ingredients, Power Query, versus cooking to order. I guess you could look at it that way. But DAX also gives us level of detail that may not exist in our data as we have it, or creating measures that don't exist in our original data. But before we build any DAX, I want to show you a nice little best practice, and that is creating a measures table. So to build our measures table, we're going to go to the table view, home, and enter data, this little table icon here. And we're just going to call this measures, and we're not going to put anything in it. We're just going to load it. Now let's create our first DAX. So while we have this table selected, we're going to select new measure, and we're going to enter in total sales equals sum of the sales amount. Click enter. So this is a simple DAX measure, just summing our sales column. This is going to give us a more flexible total sales measure that we could also use with other DAX, as opposed to just simply summing the column itself. A lot more inflexible that way. And now in our measures table, we have the default column 1 and total sales. But if we delete this column 1 from the model, you can see that our table turns into this little calculator icon. And now it is legitimately a measures table. And you can store all of your measures here, regardless of what table they're in. And so it's a nice way to organize them. And we'll make one more DAX measure here. So again, clicking into our measures table, we're going to add a measure, and we're going to create an average selling price measure. So average selling price equals divide. So you take the divide function, and then we're going to divide total sales by the sales quantity. So these two columns. And again, this isn't like a course on DAX, so we're not going to get into all the nitty gritty of DAX, but I do want to show you how to create some simple DAX measures. Now you have two measures, average selling price and total sales. And this average selling price DAX is referencing our total sales DAX. So you can see how DAX chains off of each other and gives you a lot more flexibility with what you can create when you create those DAX measures. But what about calculated columns? So you have calculated measures and you have calculated columns. A measure gives one value for the current context. Great for things like KPIs. A calculated column is going to be great if you have a table visual that needs calculation per row detail, or even something you can filter on. That's another place where calculated columns come in really handy. But calculated columns, because they calculate once per row, are very heavy. So you only want to do a calculated column if you have to. For everything else, do a measure, because the measures are way more lightweight, but it depends on what you need. And so let's say we needed to create a calculated column. So this we wouldn't do in our measures table, because again, it's not a measure. We want to put this in our sales table. So we'll click the sales table, new column. Let's say we want a line total value. And we're going to get that by multiplying sales quantity by the unit price. And this will give us line level detail for each of those values. And you can see that in the sales table, we have our calculated column distinguished by this little grid icon with the sum symbol on it. Okay, so that's a helpful overview of DAX. Let's talk about data modeling real quick. So data modeling is how our tables talk to each other, how they're connected. So we could see in our modeling tab that Power BI automatically created a relationship between sales and products. And if we click into this line here, it pulls up our little edit relationship table, and we can see that it joined these two tables together with the product key, which is correct, since those are the same column in each of those tables there. And if we want to create a relationship between the customer and the sales column, we can create that relationship through the customer key, which is the primary key of the customer table. So we're going to drag this over to the customer column in our sales table, and you can see that it's saying that there is a many-to-many cardinality. And this is something we generally want to avoid. Most of the time, you're not going to use many-to-many. And the reason it's giving us that is because each table does not contain unique values. So let's go ahead and correct that, because in this scenario, our customer key should have unique values. So let's hop on over back to Power Query. And of course, in a real world scenario, you would want to make sure you're not just removing rows for the sake of it. But let's say in this example that our customer key column absolutely has duplicates, and we know those are bad. We want to get rid of those. We'll load that back into our report. Now we should be able to join these tables together. So if I drag the customer key between the two tables, you can see that now it allows me to create that relationship cleanly. So we're going to save that. Now we have a nice little star schema with everything connecting to our sales table. And I'd say for this week of learning DAX and data modeling, get started by creating some DAX measures, understand the difference between a measure and a column, and try building a simple star schema with some sample data. So once you learn these things that we've covered, weeks 3 and 4 is where I would start to build portfolio ready dashboards. And that might seem pretty soon for some people, but it all comes down to the building. It's not enough to just learn theoretically, you gotta build stuff. I would say the two types of dashboards that make for the best portfolio, especially for a beginner, are dashboards that cover plenty of back-end work like Power Query, data modeling, and DAX. We want to showcase these in your portfolio and those projects, but also dashboards that are very visually impressive. Bad looking dashboards often get ignored because the visual layer of a dashboard is not a nice to have. It's a feature of the dashboard and encourages people to use it. But a good dashboard tells you why something is the way it is, but also what to do next. So as you're building dashboards, always think about, how can I make this actionable? Okay, so let's just build a few just simple visuals in our report here. Let's say we want to have some KPIs. We can have one with our total sales. We're just going to change that to be just 2 decimal places. Actually, let's make it 1. And then we'll create one more of these. I'm just going to copy paste, and I'm going to change our total sales with average selling price. And same thing, let's make that 1 decimal point. And then let's say we wanted to have a simple table visual to show some detail. So we'll throw in the product category, the order date, and the line total. And then let's say we just wanted to have a slicer where we could just break down by country. And we don't want it to just be check marks. So we'll go to our formatting pane, we'll close filters there. We'll go to slicer settings and change from vertical list to a drop down. It's a lot cleaner. Just click that and you can drop down to the different country that you want. Okay, awesome. One more little hack I'll show you with slicers is, so it's always nice to have a select all option so that if people want to they have multiple selections, it's a little more intuitive for them to select everything again. So we go to selection and just toggle on show select all. I always turn that on for filters whenever it makes sense. And then last thing we'll cover is publishing to Power BI service. So I'd say in general, knowing how to at least administer the basics of Power BI service is often a radically underrated skill. This matters because you may be doing more than just building dashboards in your role. You might actually be administering the workspace. But even if you're not, you should still know how to navigate the basics of a Power BI workspace. Let's go ahead and publish this real quick. I'll click publish. We're gonna save our report, and we'll save this to my workspace. And let's take a quick peek at what it looks like in the Power BI workspace before we wrap up for today. And so this is what our report looks like in the workspace. Some things you want to know is navigating the different workspaces. When you click into that workspace, you can see the reports. You could also edit some basics in your report, really just like the visual layer here. And then if you're doing things like managing gateways and connections, you could do that here, like managing your scheduled refresh. Things we won't be covering today, but it's important to just get a feel for the Power BI workspace and know the basics. So there you go, 4 weeks, 2 dashboards, 1 portfolio. That's the plan that I want to give you to learning Power BI. But here's the truth about learning Power BI. You can spend 6 months watching videos and feel like you know it, or you could spend 4 weeks building things and actually know it. One gets you a job, the other doesn't. But here's what nobody tells you. Building a great dashboard is only half the job. The other half is knowing how to talk about what it shows. And in the world of AI, this is becoming an increasingly important skill. If you want to know how to do that, I made this video on data storytelling, the skill that turns a good dashboard into one that actually gets people to act. Thanks again for watching. Definitely check out Data Camp in the description below. Appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one.